I told you about that headline for the story about the big increase in syphilis and gonorrhea in the UK. This is a true story.
I'd remember if you did.
There was a big increase in sexually transmitted diseases, and the headline...
When? Just recently?
Last week.
Oh,
I mean, this is a genuine story.
It's a thing.
And the headline was "Clap for the NHS."
Do you think...
Okay. There you go.
But before you lowered the tone with that,
yes,
we were discussing hidden tracks. Because last week you had said that Setting Suns is the Jam's best album, and
I think what I said was it's my favourite.
I think if you go back and listen, you said anyway. Whatever. I fact checked it because I went back and I listened to them back to back. All Mod Cons is a better album, and then I said
it's not actually.
with the exception of
you know that thing where you and you're not allowed to do that at home. You're not allowed to do that here. Right?
If I can't do it here, then where can I do it?
In the privacy of your own bedroom. I can go outside on the street.
I can go.
Okay, late appearance into the best Jam album discussion is
double cassette.
A double cassette of all Mod Cons in the city, no Mod Cons. So first two, Modern World, first two albums. Okay,
there's a really funny thing. I don't know whether you've ever noticed this. On the front cover of This Is the Modern World, one of them is wearing a jumper that's got an arrow pointing up and an arrow pointing down, and it's stuck on with gaffer tape. It's not, if you look at it, you can see it's clearly not a designed thing. It's just like a jumper that they've got from C&A, and they've stuck it on with gaffer tape. The arrow's pointing up and the arrow's pointing down.
I'm the Man at C&A. It's a good song by the Specials.
But the crucial thing
double cassette though is too bulky. It's like that box is gonna break instantly. Oh, yeah, double album on a single cassette.
Yeah, okay. So it's the equivalent of a C120.
Very thin tape. That's going to get
gets very, very, very stretched. Very, very stretched. Anyway, if I can get to the point.
What is the point?
The point was that I said, with the exception of English Rose, there I will find she, which is neither grammatically correct nor poetically on point. And you said, which of course...
I think this is true, and I haven't checked it. I think originally it wasn't on the running order. It wasn't on the track listing on the album. It was sort of like a hidden track.
And then on the subject of hidden tracks, I said London Calling. Of course, Train in Vain is not written on the sleeve because, as far as I understand, the sleeve was all done before they did Train in Vain, and then they start because it's meant to end with Revolution Rock.
I think it arrived too late, but that's a hidden track.
But it's written on. It's scratched into the out groove.
That's a kind of hidden track because they were just a little bit shambolic, as opposed to what became the art of the hidden track was we've got this really weird, freaky thing which no one will like. I know. Let's put it as the last track. So then when you're on the CD and the last track lasts for 32 minutes, you go, what is this? Oh, and it's because there's a hidden track.
And there is a story that the reason Elizabeth.
Can I just say, are you recording all this? Good. Keep going.
The reason that Elizabeth is a very fine woman and never did a thing, but the reason that that's at the end of, is it Abbey Road? Which is the one which ends, and in the end, the love you give, that is Abbey Road, isn't it? Abbey Road, yeah. Then there's a thing, and then there's that weird thing, the Queen Elizabeth song. The reason it's on the end was because they recorded it, they didn't know what to do it, they stuck it on the master tape, and then somebody forgot that it was there, and then it was like a kind of...
Cool.
You'll have to repeat that because otherwise the listeners can't hear what Simon's saying.
So the redactor has just said this, right? Say it again.
Eggs, poached, boiled or fried. They're good for you.
I don't know.
I have no idea what that is.
Tonight at Noon by The Jam,
a track
I don't know. By the way, do you remember when in a previous incarnation we did our own version of a hidden track? We went silent for about a minute or two.
Oh yes, that's right.
And then scared people senseless because they were carrying in their shopping with headphones on and they couldn't find the stop button. So they were just carrying on, forgotten they had headphones on, and then we would go, I know where your bins are, or something like that, and scared people. We should do that again, actually. What are you reviewing on this week's show?
I'm going to be reviewing No Hard Feelings, which is a new film with Jennifer Lawrence, Nimona, which is an animation, and Asteroid City, which is the new film from Wes Anderson.
Is it My Nimona? Is it one of those?
Can you, hang on, wait, can you name the Knack's other hit?
No,
precisely.
They didn't have
and
them.
There we are.
They were the new Beatles, apparently.
Yes, according to them.
Aisling B and Lara McDonnell are going to be talking about Greatest Days, which Mark reviewed last week, but people have been seeing this week, so we'll be speaking to them. Extra takes, more of this uncontrollable nonsense. The weekend watch list and the weekend not list. 5 of which are going to be great and 3 you're going to hate. Bonus reviews are going to be what, Mark?
The Super 8 Years and The Last Rider.
Pretentious Moi is currently Mark Kermode 15, Mark Kermode 15.
Boom.
I don't know quite which way I'd like that
I
to
would
go.
like to say that the last one I won unfairly because you did leave in a character name. I wouldn't have got it if you hadn't said Nobby.
Well, just,
No, I take the win.
take the win.
Take the win.
One frame back is going to be about Stargaze. Is it about stargazers? Not about
Yeah, because of Asteroid City.
Oh, yeah. It's about stargazers.
About stargazing.
I thought it was about something else.
Stargazy pie.
You can support us via Apple Podcasts, or you can head to extratakes.com for non-fruit related devices. If you're already a Vanguardista, as always, of course, we salute you. Okay, so cheesy music time. Hey, Mark.
Hey, Simon.
Do you ever find yourself in a press show needing to jot down some bon mot or mot juste or whatever the heck you do in those things, but are let down by the quality of your notepad?
Yes, until recently, I've waved goodbye to substandard notebook misery with this beautiful hardcover notepad signed by Simon Mayo and Mark Kermode, just in case I forget who I am.
That is indeed a very, very handsome item. Is it an A5 case-bound notebook with lined ivory pages?
Yes, 96 pages, 192 sides.
The perfect size. So why not make a note?
Why not make an emphasis? Why not make a note? Because it's a notebook.
I know, that's why I emphasised make a note to head to store. I was fine until you undermined me.
Sorry.
So why not make a note to head to store.kermodeandmayo.com now and secure yours. The rush is on. Ed Hyde in Wellington, New Zealand. Dear Cybok and Cyborg, I'm writing in response to your correspondence last week from Richard Hanoff. I hope this is right. He mentioned that he had married into a complicated Bulgarian surname, who explained how his father had kind-heartedly but bizarrely given him Terminator 2 on VHS one Christmas when he was 6. I had a similar experience. I grew up in Plymouth in the 1980s, where my parents had a friend called Julian, who was in the Merchant Navy. He travelled to and from places such as Singapore and Hong Kong and would often bring back films on VHS, as this was the time when there was often a delay of months between films being released in the US or the Far East and the UK. One day I was homesick from primary school with a nasty cold. I can't remember exactly why now, but Julian was on shore leave and had come over to our house and, learning that I was at home, had offered a couple of his latest VHS acquisitions for my entertainment. I asked if I could watch them and my mum replied offhandedly, yeah, that's fine. And so it was that at the tender age of 8, in the same day, I watched the first Star Trek V, The Final Frontier, back-to-back with The Terminator. I was utterly traumatized by Arnold Schwarzenegger's eye-gouging scene, so much so I kept rewinding it and watching it again to check that I hadn't imagined what I had seen. Wow. As a doctor, I know that this is called enucleation. But at the time, I was simply speechless. That scene is seared, ironically, onto my eyeballs, and I can see it just as clearly now as I could then. It seems curious that I now live in Wellington and can see part of the, is it Weta Studios complex from my house, where Terminator director Cameron is still busy making the Avatar sequels. Happy birthday to Mark for the 2nd of July, a birthday shared with my son Alex, who will be 11 this year. He would be delighted if you could give him a birthday what's up, if this was possible, please.
What's up, Alex? Happy birthday.
Fine day to be born. And down with keeping nuclear secrets in the bathroom. And let's face it, we've all done it. We all have.
Who can honestly say
they don't have
that they've
secrets?
never kept nuclear secrets and plans to invade foreign countries in the Kazi?
Ed Hyde, Fellow of the Royal Australian and New Zealand College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists, Squadron Marksman 1876, Kingsbridge, Squadron Air Training Corps 1993. Ed, thank you. Keep those qualifications mentioned on your emails if you have any. Correspondence at kermodeandmayo.com. Tell us a movie that's out that we can go and see that you might like or dislike.
No Hard Feelings, which is the new film starring Jennifer Lawrence, who is also a producer of it. Directed by Ukrainian-born American film and TV maker Gene Stupnitsky, who was a writer and director on the US version of The Office, which I never saw, did you? I heard good things about it. Also, his feature film writing credits include Year One and Bad Teacher, and he co-wrote and directed Good Boys. So, in No Hard Feelings, Jennifer Lawrence is an Uber driver who is in danger.
Okay, at that point, no.
Meg Ryan is a helicopter
pilot.
Jennifer Lawrence is an Uber driver. She lives in this resort town where people come for holidays and nobody likes a tourist. And she lives in a house that was left to her by her mother, but she is in danger of not being able to pay her taxes and therefore losing the house. A situation made worse when her car is repossessed. So now she has no way of earning any money. She then answers an advert on Craigslist. Craigslist?
No.
It's a thing.
Oh, what is it?
Well, I only know about it from movies. It's classifieds, but it turns up as a device in many movies as a way of. Anyway, whatever. So, advert on Craigslist, posted by the parents of a 19-year-old called Percy. He is going to Princeton University, but he has apparently spent most of his adolescence in his bedroom. And they are worried that he has no interest in anything outside of playing computer
They think
games.
hiring Jennifer Lawrence might help.
Have you seen the film?
I don't need to.
Here's a clip.
I meant to ask this on the phone. But how old are you?
Well, I know you were looking for someone early to mid-20s. I'm slightly older.
Right. How old?
I just turned 29.
Recently?
Last year.
So you're 29?
Last year.
And how old are you, like, right now?
1 more year older.
So 30.
Yeah. 32.
Mother!
So the arrangement is that she will date the son.
That's quite a funny clip.
And as a funniest clip in the film. Okay. And in return, they will give her a Buick. And she says, now, when you say date, you mean date. And they say, yeah, we want you to date him. And she agrees that she will date the heck out of him.
Right.
So the parameters are all kind of clear. That what they want her
dating the heck out of somebody.
Dating the heck out of somebody means yeah. And
I see.
So it kind of like Pretty Woman, if Richard Gere was a 19-year-old and Julia Roberts was hired by his parents without telling him. And not really like Pretty Woman. If you've seen the posters, it's the picture of her and him, and the word over her is pretty, and the word over him is awkward.
Yes.
So pretty.
And she's tweaking his cheek.
She's tweaking his cheek. I have to say pretty awkward also pretty much sums up the whole of the rest of the film, because what follows is this really misjudged, tonally all over the place, and frankly, what? Sex comedy coming of age hybrid that takes all the ickiest elements from like Risky Business and Weird Science and tries to cross them with something which is, at once has got, enough gross out stuff to put in the trailer, but also touching, maybe a little bit. Low points include Jennifer Lawrence trying to get the 19-year-old who looks like he's about 12 to have sex with her in the sea before a nude beach fight with some people who've tried to steal their clothes. The whole existence of that scene just made me go, sorry, what? Which film? Why? I mean, at least I remember seeing Risky Business when it first came out, and there are big problems with Risky Business. But at least Rebecca De Mornay doesn't look like she's Tom Cruise's mother, which lends this very, very. So here's the main problem is this: there is something really creepy about the fact that Jennifer Lawrence is playing this actually, quite convincingly believable, feisty young woman, 32, somebody who's, she knows her own mind, she does her own thing, she's very, very independent, and you can believe in her. And the person who she's playing opposite is basically played like a character from Revenge of the Nerds. Like, not like a person who is a real awkward 19-year-old, but like the kind of 19-year-old that would have been in a movie like Revenge of the Nerds or one of the side characters in Porky's. So it's like they're in two different films. And then you put the two of them together in this thing, you go, I don't get the tone of this. It's at times it feels really kind of like okay, this is really, really tonally misjudged. At times it feels like this is, I mean, there are a couple of laughs in it. None of the laughs are to do with the central thing. I mean, that scene that you were just laughing at then, one of the people in that scene was and Matthew Broderick, who is credited as and Matthew Broderick. Okay, so and Matthew Broderick is there, which makes you think, I liked Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Now, I know and Matthew Broderick did a lot of other things after Ferris Bueller's Day Off, but when you have them in this kind of movie, it's Ferris Bueller's Day Off is a much better film than this. And I literally spent the whole film feeling either really this kind of borders on being like really, really creepy and then just not very funny. And Jennifer Lawrence produced it or co-produced it, and I don't get why, because she's a brilliant, talented actor who's got an amazing career, and I just don't understand the thing. Now, I accept that I've got a tin ear for comedy. Afterwards, I spoke to two other people who are completely not me, who are different ages, different, and they all said the same thing. What on earth was all that about?
Correspondence at cameo.com. If you've seen it or if you're going to see it this week, let us know what you think. Still to come, Mark is going to be talking about
Nimona and the new Wes Anderson film, Asteroid City.
We're going to be talking about the Take That movie, which you reviewed last week, which isn't about Take That.
No, although it is.
Yes. And we'll be back before you can say the most thought-provoking thing in our thought-provoking time is that we are still not thinking.
Who?
Martin Heidegger. A boozy beggar who could drink you under the table. An email from Matt Knott in Stevenage, LTL, MTE, member of the Blue Light Transept. Hello.
Not K-N-O-T-T or not?
K-N-O-T-T.
Yes.
Yes, as in John Knott, the old Defence Secretary.
Wow. Well done.
To whom Robin Day said, here today, gone tomorrow politician, and then John Knott got up and walked out.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Do you know what? In 2001, Keir Delay, of whom Noel Coward said, Keir Delay, gone tomorrow.
That's also good.
Which is also good.
So the aforementioned Matt Knott also says hello to Toby Jones and Eddie Marzan. By the way, Toby Jones is in...
Indiana Jones.
Splendidly. Is
and
in
the Dial of Destiny.
And surprisingly, in the Indiana Jones film.
And he gets to do a lot of stuff. He doesn't just have conversations. He does action stuff.
Yes, on trains and everything. So anyway, today is a Toby Jones show.
Day.
So further to Mark's declaration that smoking made him want to go for a poo, I too had the same experience after having a puff. I also had the same problem when I tried to select films from Blockbuster. So much so that I had to watch many films solely selected by my girlfriend as I had to rush out to the Scottish restaurant opposite. Here's to Bluehead feminist movies. So there's an awful lot that working in that one particular paragraph. So he has a cigarette and wants to go for a poo. He selects films from Blockbuster and that makes him want to go for a poo. He might just have... intestinal issues, I think. Irritable
but the
syndrome.
Blockbuster video, it's back to the browsing thing, isn't it? That's the...
Garth says, Dear Nicotine and Caffeine, as a proud recipient of toxicologists' tabagie, apparently it's a room designated for smoking tobacco and socialising, a tabagie.
I didn't know.
I decided to look into Mark's experience with cigarettes. Both nicotine and caffeine function as physiological stimulants, and while the link hasn't been definitely confirmed, it's likely that both of these drugs will cause muscle contractions
of course.
in the digestive system,
yes.
which may indeed cause some individuals a sudden need to try hard.
And what was it? The French phrase was coffee, cigarette, poo.
Yeah, caca.
Yeah.
Yes.
Café, clop, caca.
That's the one.
Yeah.
At this point, I must add the obligatory don't smoke, it's bad for you, obviously.
Of course.
But obviously do have a poo because that's okay.
Also, other thing about cigarettes, the fastest way of getting your money into the hands of fascists.
Thanks for the many years of entertaining and excellent production. My brother once at a festival, like a music festival, the toilets were so bad, he didn't have a poo for the whole festival.
Yeah. I have heard.
It is. I didn't know
similar.
Such things possible. I didn't even know it was possible to have such bowel control.
When I presented Channel 4 Goes to Glastonbury, famously the worst television I ever did, a celebrity of annoying reputation. Somebody who, in real life, is every bit what you'd expect them to be.
Yes, I know this to be true.
Locked themselves in the Winnebago that had the nice toilets and didn't come out for a couple of days. And so
It's not possible to entertain yourself in a toilet for that amount of time.
no, it wasn't a toilet. It was the whole large Winnebago. Just turned up, locked themselves in there, and then so no one was able to go to the loo.
Anyway, I'd be interested to know, as we're approaching, kind of in festival season, whether, is that, how common is that? Obviously the loos now are a whole lot better, but to not have a poo for a whole weekend is extraordinary.
Glastonbury last year had sawdust toilets throughout because they've gone eco-friendly,
Okay.
which I'm sure it's saving the planet.
But on the other hand, I could stay at home and watch on the telly. So box office top 10 in a second. But a big streamer this week. Oh, I'm just popping out for a big streamer. Have you streamed recently? No, but now you mention it.
Have you downstreamed it?
Certainly better than being upstreamed anyway. Extraction 2 is what we're talking about. That's also bad. I'm just offering... Aurora says, I've just finished Extraction 2. I think it's not as good as the first one. The plot was a mass.
No, the plot is a mass.
The dialogue actually says the dialogues were especially bad. I guess they were written by the same AI that Netflix always use and pretend that it was written by Joe Rosso. Gary Sheehan, Extraction 2 is an irredeemably soulless experience. I remember being told that video piracy could harm future film production. Where do I sign? Anyway, once you... So
Is that it? So we just got 2 negative emails.
on Extraction 2, yes.
Well,
I haven't watched it yet.
My colleague Peter Bradshaw in The Guardian gave it 1 star and called it soulless. And I didn't think it was. I thought the action sequences were terrific. There were 3 really good action sequences in it.
I intend to have an Extraction this week, I think. And I've had one, so I can now have a second.
Yeah. Because you are an Extraction fan.
That's right.
Yes.
Which was funny.
Well, it was funny.
Number 30 is Inland.
This is in the charts now.
Yes, in the
Right,
charts,
fine, so you
in
were
the
just
top
doing the streaming
30.
thing. I liked Inland. I mean, it's a micro-budget production. It's got a terrific soundtrack. Mark Rylance had the script put through his door by the director, who at that point, if Richard Ryder was in his teens, and Rylance read it and thought this is worth getting on board with. And I think we are going to see great things from the director in the future.
Number 17, Pretty Red Dress.
A Pretty Red Dress, I like very much. It's 3 central characters: guy just out of prison, his partner, their daughter. Each of them have secrets that they're keeping from each other, and it's a kind of transformative story about how they get this dress so that she can audition for a role as Tina Turner, and how the dress has this transformative role. I thought it was really, really good. Liked it very much.
Number 10, Super Mario Bros. Full stop movie, the...
Looks like the last week of it in the charts. So that is 11 weeks that it's been in the charts, and it has taken a staggering amount of money, which for a film which is so ordinary is really remarkable.
It'll be back. There'll be more.
Yeah.
Number 9 is The Boogeyman.
Generic horror from a director who has done less generic work in the past, and I hope does less generic work in the future.
Number 8 is Fast 10, Your Seatbelts.
Yeah. I mean, I want it to be out of the charts now so that we can stop making that joke.
Yes, that's true, although repeating jokes has never kind of troubled us in the past.
Repetition is a form of comedy. Repetition is a form of comedy.
That's true. Also, the thing about Fast X is, I don't know if I can I say this? If I can't say it, it'll
They
get,
can take it
get
out.
bleeped. When you've seen Mission Impossible, the new one, Fast 10 looks a little bit shabby
I know, it does, doesn't
and
it?
a little bit fake.
Yeah, we probably can't.
Can I say that?
Well, we can say that we've seen, we can't say anything else about it.
I haven't said anything.
No, you
in
haven't.
it.
No. Did I show you?
Although that bit where the thing happens.
Did I show you the last page of? Sorry, just you can't keep this in. The last page of, because you and I saw. Okay, we could be talking about anything now. You and I went to see a film, and I sat next to you, and as you know, we were doing the thing. I was making notes. Okay,
Yeah, you make notes
I
'cause
make
you're a
notes,
critic.
and I do. So there's pages and pages of notes. That's the last page of my notes.
Okay, I can't read a single word apart from because you're scribbling in the dark. Bluminek, I can spot. You want to do something to your hat?
That's it. The last bit, the last bit is just the sign-off thing of the thing. But yes, I literally sat there writing expletives
Because it's so extraordinary.
Because it was so extraordinary.
Anyway, where are we? Oh, yes, number 7, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 is at
Which
7.
I like very much.
Adi Purush, the Hindi film, is at number 6.
Yes, so I haven't seen that because it wasn't press screen, but I can tell you it is an Indian mythological action film based on the Hindu epic Ramayana. If anyone has seen it, please let us know.
Greatest Days, the Take That movie. That's not a Take That movie.
But we're going to hear more about it in just a short while.
Yes, because Aisling B and Lara McDonnell are going to be with us shortly. Transformers, Rise of the Beast is at number 4.
Not as good as Bumblebee, but better than all the other ones.
Yes, Transformers Rise of the Beast, that's a number 4. It's also number 4 in the States, by the way. Number 3 here, number 5 in the States is The Little Mermaid. David Neumann says, Mark and Simon, I know I'm a bit late with this, but maybe just in time, with The Little Mermaid still in the top 10. The original Little Mermaid is a film that is very dear to me, and I have never even seen it, in capital letters.
Okay.
I think this is quite interesting. So films that are really important to you.
But you haven't seen them.
Bear with me whilst I explain. Some years ago, I remained at work whilst my wife took herself and the children away for a few days to Guernsey, where she grew up. With a friend and her young ones, she took the children to see The Little Mermaid. Child 2 became increasingly agitated as the film progressed, needing to sit on my wife's lap as the implications of the final act became clear. She burst into tears and howled to the whole cinema, "But she'll never see her daddy ever again." Given the emotional resonance of the film, it is probably about time I readied a hanky to mop up my tears and watch the whole thing. As a 59-year-old man, I am surely not part of Disney's target audience. But if I had a small child to borrow, I would also be off to see the new version. Tickety-tonk, down with fascism, both historic and incipient. David Neumann, for use of the word incipient, which doesn't come up very often, thank you very much. I would like to know if there's anyone else who has movies that are very important to them, but they've never seen.
Yes. Well, kind of weirdly enough, an example of that is Exorcist for you. It's important to you because we've talked about it a lot, but you have never seen it, and I believe you will never see it.
Well, and I'm quite happy to see it, but I just think it's funnier
if you haven't.
If I haven't.
Yes.
So you can still keep talking about it, and I feel as though I have seen every scene.
Exactly.
In it. Number 2 here, number 3 in the States, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse.
Well, there's a fascinating thing in number 2 and number 1. So could it do the number 1 and then I'll do them together. Do you have some emails?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, fine. Well, I will therefore reserve what I have to say about Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, which I liked very much until we discuss number 1. So you do it.
So number 1 is The Flash, which we'll get to in just a second. So UK's 2, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. We've had lots of emails along these lines.
Okay.
Callum says, Dear Tobey Maguire Spider-Man and Spider-Man 2099, after listening to last week's programme, I just thought I'd throw my 2 cents regarding the listener from last week's very literal reading of the moral of the Spider-Verse films being anyone can wear the mask, much like Ratatouille's moral of anyone can cook, which is later elaborated to mean not everyone can be great, but greatness can come from anywhere. I feel Spider-Man follows a similar thread. Not absolutely everyone can be Spider-Man, but everyone is capable of bravery. And even if these moments of bravery aren't spectacular or heroic, we're asked to be brave from time to time. We're all asked to be brave from time to time. In the larger sense of the phrase, we only need to look at the citizens of Ukraine or Russian newspapers defying Putin. In the smaller sense, we probably have a moment where we almost talked ourselves out of doing that thing, applying for a dream job or asking that hunk out, whatever. Very literal readings of morals in films that are essentially parables and fairy tales I find troubling. I felt that society has become increasingly cynical, and when these morals are read very literally and scrap all the nuances that those morals intend. Out in the world right now, a young fan of the Spider-Verse may be inspired to act in a way that's brave, and how can anyone say that's bad? To conclude, I'll leave a quote from Stan Lee that was included after the end credits from the Spider-Verse film. Quote, "That person who helps others simply because it should or must be done, and because it is the right thing to do, is indeed, without a doubt, a real superhero." Okay.
I agree 100%.
Okay, number 1 here and number 1 in the States is The Flash. Lots of correspondence on this. We'll put some more in later on, but for the moment, Darren Leasley in Dublin. As the summer heat broke on Friday night to persistent rain scuppering my walk, I decided to go to the cinema and, for want of paucity of choice settled on The Flash. I hadn't seen a DC-related movie since The Dark Knight, and good grief, that's now 15 years and a whole Marvel Cinematic Universe ago.
Yikes.
And it's the influence of the MCU that coloured my response to The Flash. And the middle hour or so, well, I quite enjoyed the two Barrys coming to terms with and without powers and each other, Michael Keaton seemingly having an absolute ball as Batman again, and genuinely exciting action sequences. Unfortunately, this came sandwiched between two bouts of CGI set pieces that, like many a Marvel film before, completely disengaged my interest. I was genuinely bored in the opening scenes, poorly rendered babies and all. That Ben Affleck instance of Batman was literally thrown from pillar to post in defiance of even the most comic book of physics, tested my patience to near breaking point. I was close to actually walking out. That boredom returned at the climax, where I began to care less and less what happened. The visuals were more like a demo reel for the FX houses than any attempt at storytelling. I've seen other films that have more coherently relayed the notion of a multiverse far more wittily, trusting the viewer to follow what's going on. The Flash's psychedelic cat's cradle gone haywire was just silly. In short, not completely a flash in the pan, but neither wholly flashy, says Darren.
So, I understand that completely. So I think the interesting thing is that you have at 1 and 2, two films which are doing multiverse stuff. And one of them, which is Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, is doing it in a really exciting, interesting way and is, you know, and is inspiring that email that we just had, which I know is in response to the thing about messages. And then you have The Flash, which, you know, there are things in it that are all right and there are things in it that are all over the place. Some of the special effects in it are unbelievably shonky, which is really surprising for a movie that cost that much money. And I think when they are right next door to each other in the chart like this, you go, okay, one of those is doing something interesting and has a heart and soul, and the other one isn't and doesn't. And I think having them right next to each other, that comparison is made, you know, just all the more pronounced. When you said the thing last week, which was in response to, there was an emailer who said, you know, that these messages about anyone can be anything. That was what provoked that conversation. The point about the Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse thing is that although it is flitting through multiverses at a rate of knots, it's doing it because it's using animation and it's understanding that that's what animation can do. It's doing it in a way which is completely visually involving, but it always has a heart. It always has at its central thing this message. Whatever you think about the message, it has that message. The Flash doesn't. The Flash has some interesting little bits. Michael Keaton as the bedraggled Batman is interesting. There are moments of Ezra Miller. I don't get the Ezra Miller magic thing because I don't particularly see it. But the film is kind of empty. And I think that the comparison between, you know, one of them is full of ideas and the other is full of stuff is pretty clear.
We'll do some more correspondence on Flash later on. And Aisling B and Lara McDonnell will talk about their new movie, Greatest Days, in just a moment. Now, we've got some special guests on the show this week. They are Aisling B and Lara McDonnell. They both star as Rachel. Yes, they're both the same person.
It's a multiverse.
It is. Oh, my goodness me. Imagine if this was a multiverse film.
Exactly.
They both star as Rachel in the film Greatest Days, which, as we've already told you, is at number 5 in the top 10. Anyway, we're going to talk to them about their new movie after this clip.
Oh. Hi. Yeah.
So, what's everyone fancy doing?
Well, I'm not sure if you remember, but our cocktails. I mean, you probably don't even drink this stuff anymore, so it's
I
like
remember,
a silly
all right.
job. Yeah.
Oh, God, why did we do this? There's why.
What do you think the odds are of them spotting me and doing that thing where they pull me up on stage and do a whole song around me?
Oh, my God.
So high.
Very high. God, I hope one of them doesn't, like, lock eyes at me from the crowd because I will not be responsible for my actions.
Are you? You've got a partner.
I hear 3 of them are on brink of divorce.
They're not, are they?
They will be when I get up there.
That's a clip from Greatest Days. Delighted to be joined by Aisling B and Lara McDonnell, 2 of its stars. Hello, Aisling. Hello, Lara.
Hello, Simon Mayo.
It's very nice to welcome you to the programme. And you both play the same characters. So introduce us to... Well, maybe we should say right at the very beginning, this is a Take That movie, but it isn't a Take That movie. So how do we best describe it? Lara, you go first. How do you describe this movie to your friends?
Okay, so I would explain it as a jukebox musical. And if I was describing it to my friends, I would say it's basically Mamma Mia, but with Take That music. It's not entirely about Take That, but their music is what brings the story around and what we use as a tool most of the time. But it's about these 5 girls who are all from Manchester and they're best friends, and they bond over their obsession with this boy band. And then we flash forward to 25 years later when the girls reunite for a reunion tour.
Aisling, I think, is there anything left to say? I think Lara's just...
Yes, I play a young Gary Barlow. That's all. No, is there anything I have to say? I'd say if you're confused, Mamma Mia is a good reference, as Lara said, in that Mamma Mia isn't about ABBA. It's about another story, and it uses ABBA songs to zhuzh us along. Yeah. And this is the same. This is about a group of 5 friends, and we see them in the past and the future, and Take That songs zhuzh them along through life.
I also thought there's another reference point, the Sunshine on Leith, the Proclaimers film.
I haven't seen Sunshine on Leith, actually, on my list.
Yeah, no, and also there's a nice cameo from Craig and Charlie in the same way that the Take That guys do a little cameo. Okay, so you both play Rachel. Lara, you're young Rachel. Aisling, you're just...
Go on, describe it. What would you call it, Simon?
Just slightly older than young Rachel.
Yes, very good. Well done, Simon.
Or you're just Rachel and Lara is young Rachel.
Yeah, there we go. The other one.
Well done.
What kind of a 16-year-old and what kind of a slightly older woman is she? Aisling, go first. What kind of a woman is Rachel?
I think that when we meet, and one of the reasons I kind of signed up to do this is because it's a little bit of a love letter to. And sometimes you watch movies and everyone's trying to get out of where they are in an external circumstance. Rachel is a pediatric nurse, an NHS worker, and she's a very passionate nurse, is very happy with where she is in life, but it's an internal struggle that something is sort of missing. Something's not quite clicking. And there's a fearfulness in her of trying to keep everything together. And I like the idea that there was a big swinging musical about this character that more people could relate to than not. And we then flash back and see potentially the seeds of where her character and why she ended up in that role. She's someone who tries to keep things together, as I say, and then we flash back to younger Rachel and we see her in a similar vein in her earlier years with her gang of friends, where she's kind of similarly, but a lot more free than we see her later on. So we're like, oh, what happened? And so begins our mystery.
Yeah, life happened, basically.
Life happened, exactly.
Yes. Lara, did you manage to have much time either before the filming or during the filming where you could get together with Aisling and discuss your character and the traits that you would have, maybe some mannerisms that you would both share?
I think Aisling and I are very similar. Like we already had a big connection when we met. I think you were saying most Irish people, we just seem to, we find each other.
Yes.
And then because of that, we got on very well initially.
My mother had seen Lara do her star turn in Belfast as a cheeky little shoplifting cousin. And she was like, Aisling, that's you. Like, can we get her to play younger you? And I'm like, that actress will not be available for the next 50 years. She's so talented. And so when I heard that Lara was auditioning for the part, I was like, oh my God, her, yes, please, yes, please. She'd been in my mind, and Jamie loved her and Katrina loved her so much. And I was like, oh my God, imagine if she was playing little me. And there were times when, to be honest, we didn't have to do much work. And I suppose sometimes when the casting feels right, you don't have to do as much work. The one thing I will say is I was never prepared to wear contact lenses, and Lara McDonnell here wore big plastic blue contact lenses for the entirety of filming, because she's a lot more of a committed actress than I am.
I feel as though I should mention just, Lara, that Ken Branagh came on the show to talk about Artemis Fowl. We had a great conversation with you in which you were an elf. Holly Short,
always and forever.
And is it true that you did work experience for him?
I did, yeah. Oh. Yeah, so when I was working on Artemis, and I was 14 when we were initially filming, and then we came back a year later to do reshoots. And in Ireland we have a scheme, we have a thing called transition year where you do work experience. And I think I mentioned this in passing to him about that I need to sort out doing something for my work experience. And he just very casually mentioned, come do it with us. And so I went and did 2 weeks of work experience on Death on the Nile with him, which was the most surreal experience ever and very different to what a lot of my peers were doing for work experience. But yeah, I enjoyed it so much because I got to work in every single department over the 2 weeks. And it was such an education because I got to understand what it was like to be in every single role that I work with. And it made me very appreciative in how much I love my job, but it also made me so grateful and appreciative of everything else everyone does for us.
I think, and I know this is a film podcast, so excuse me, Simon, for saying this, but I think the one thing in our industry that jars a lot is that we all, in every different department, don't understand each other's jobs enough, don't understand the pressures of being the accountant or being the DOP, the costume person, the costume assistant, the actor, the supporting actor, the background artist. And the one thing that's such an amazing thing to have gotten early on in your career, because I only got that with my own show, where I had to experience so many different things. And my sister's a film costume designer as well. So I suddenly have an insight that I definitely didn't have early in my career about how hard it is or what things can go wrong and right around the industry. And as much of that as we could get, where everyone learns different jobs, would be amazing for our industry generally. Actually, that's fantastic that you got to do that.
Yeah. Almost everyone else's work experience is, down at the supermarket or working at the shop on the corner. And yours was working with Ken Branagh on Death on the Nile. How absolutely fantastic. Can you both explain how the music and the dancing, performing band, the boys, whatever we call them, how does that magic happen? So, they kind of jump out of cupboards and appear as a statue. Just to explain how that device works.
I think Tim Firth explained it very well in that he describes them as kind of a Greek chorus in Rachel's life. But I think the way that we approached it is the boys, I think, represent in this, I think they just represent music as a whole. And I think we don't realize how much we all rely on music to get us through so many tough times, and it's only when we look back we realize that one particular song really helped us through that time, or really understood and said what we were feeling and was able to comfort us for that. And the boys are the actualization of that, in that when whatever Rachel is going through throughout the film, whatever the girls are going through throughout the film, the boys are always there for her, whether it be in an upbeat poppy number where they are jumping out of cupboards, or in a really comforting, protective manner. I would describe them as her guardian angels. They're just always there looking out for her to shelter her and protect her.
It's almost like a gentle version of Drop Dead Fred for when they come back later on, in that she's pushed away this kind of the coping mechanism she had as a child, and it was something that she looks back on as probably like an odd moment. And then suddenly when adult Rachel wins these competition tickets, old feelings that she's tried to repress come up, and suddenly out pop her coping mechanisms again. The lads are suddenly, at the caravan site when she's trying to go on holiday, and they're back for good. What was interesting was that the casting of them was absolutely incredible. Those 5 lads were cast in the original incarnation of this film pre-pandemic. They survived the pandemic. They're all dancers when dancers were completely out of work. And they're such a gorgeous group of men. And they ended up becoming a real, we had very little time to make this film. It was a lot of pressure. And through it all, you had this gorgeous group of 5 dancers, actually sort of myself and Lara as people really look after us, because they're so gentle and kind, that those 5 dancers and actors who play the characters.
The way you describe them, both of you talk about, they sound like, to use a different style of language, they're like your guardian angels almost.
Yes, yeah, exactly. And they sort of became that during the filming as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Like, they're such a good group of eggs. And it was funny, there's all my life I'm kind of surrounded by actors, but it was quite funny watching a group of trained dancers move together, because dancers tend to move more in sync, and actors kind of move back and forth with each other for the job or for the scene they're in. Then you'll be like, right, fine, I'm off for my lunch. Not sure if you're on lunch yet, but bye. Whereas dancers wait around for each other and really hold each other. And so, they did become like guardian angels in real life as well.
Was the singing and dancing just something that you expect to do occasionally in a movie, or is it quite scary?
I wish it was more common.
Yeah.
I should do it more.
Oh my God, that part of it was the kind of joyful part of it. I think there's something to physically dance and have to learn dance moves is good for your brain, to engage the left and right side of your brain. To sing out loud, it's why people do karaoke no matter what level of skill they're at. It's because it genuinely does something to your soul to be able to belt out a song. at a level that you're not technically allowed to because of fear of the wrath of your neighbors. So to be able to do that was quite joyful, but not something I definitely would have ever expected from a film career, truthfully.
I feel as though I was almost in this film in a way, because I introduced Take That on Top of the Pops a number of times.
Did you? My
goodness. Yeah.
Mr. Mayo.
So I know it's not Take That, but it kind of is. And so,
Yeah.
and there's lots of discussion about, did you see them on Top of the Pops? And they're very excited. So that was a good moment. I like that.
Yeah. So you introduced them for the first time?
No, I don't think it was
What
the
song
first
was
time.
it?
Very, very early on. I think I did it for Back for Good.
You don't remember what they were wearing, do you? Because they had some outfits when they were in their original incarnation. They had
Robbie had some fantastic red hair and glasses.
Oh my goodness.
As I recall. Anyway, but actually, because it is about Take That, because their music is all the way through it. It's actually far more about female friendship, isn't it? I mean, that's at the heart of the story.
And I don't even think just female friendship. I think looking back at your childhood friends, and I suppose the question that lingers over Rate, my character, as she gets the gang back together is, will it be the same? And I think we all have that with our old friends. Were we just friends because of geography, because of our location, because of our parents' location, our education? Is that the reason we were friends? And the intensity of young friendships, and when they sort of float away slowly but surely, it's like a tragic death of a friendship. And when you come back together, no matter what gender or background you have, you're like, oh no, will it gel? Is it going to be awkward? Will we feel the same? We mean so much to each other, but can we work now as adults with all of our histories and stories? And I think that's when we re-meet the girls together as a group, that's the first bit is the weirdness that it doesn't totally gel right because they haven't talked about this big thing that happened.
Is that how you see it, Lara?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, because I was so much more focused on the 16-year-old reiteration of the girls. And it was just that pure celebration of that beautiful friendship of when Koki described it really well, of at that age, they feel immortal, they feel invincible. And you do when you're that age, that like your biggest worry is, can we get to this concert to see the boys? And how will we get home on the bus? It isn't about all those big existential questions. And so I think that it was just the simplicity of those friendships, I think, is what a lot of it harbors on in the 16-year-old versions of the girls. It's just how beautifully simple and easy these are. But then as you grow up and obviously you learn more and you experience more, which we see in the 25 years later, as similar as certain traits of each character is, none of us are the same person that we were however many years ago.
Yeah,
and so because of that, will they gel? Like you were saying, how will they gel? Will they be able to still be friends? But I think what's so beautiful about this film is that celebration of that part of us will always stay with us.
Yeah.
And so no matter what, there's always a bit of a 16-year-old self in every single one of us that just every once in a while needs to be brought out and celebrated.
Mine gets brought out far too much.
Aisling, Lara, we appreciate your time. Thank you very much indeed, and all the best with
Thank
this
you
movie.
so much. And thanks for being back for good. I just totally throwing a
Well
bun.
done.
Hey, that worked for
Thank you
me.
so
That
much.
absolutely worked for me. Thank you, Lara. Thank you, Aisling.
Take care. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Lara McDonnell and Aisling B talking about Greatest Days. And I have slightly reappraised my position of last
You were a bit
week.
sniffy last week.
Well, yes, I have done. I mean, I've watched the whole thing, obviously. And I just watched the last half hour again. And I was thinking, oh, I understand.
it.
I understand why people will love seeing this film. It isn't for me, but I get why it. I don't think it's as good as Mamma Mia. I don't think it's as good as the Proclaimers movie, but I do think that they've done a good job, and it is about female friendship. But as Aisling says, it is slightly broader than that, and the colours are spectacular. I mean, we're just watching that clip again.
You said, is that a clip from the new Wes Anderson
Well, it
film?
does look like
which
that,
we'll talk about in a bit.
The colour palette is was great.
There was an interesting thing. As I said, I watched it with the good lady Professor Her indoors, who I don't think has ever been a Take That fan. But what she really liked about it was the friendship between the group. And as I said, I'll go back to the thing I said before. I turned at one point and I said, "This is rubbish." And she went, "Well, why are you crying?" And I think that sums it up. It works. And it's got a kind of, it's got a naive energy that works because actually it is in the end about friendship. I love the comparison with Drop Dead Fred, which is not a movie I've heard referenced in quite a long time. But that is a really smart comparison that you have, because the Drop Dead Fred revolves around you have a fantasy friend as a child, and then you grow up and the fantasy friend reappears. And it's about what are the things that got you through childhood. I mean, Drop Dead Fred is I know the people who like Drop Dead Fred really, really love it, but it's got lost in the mix. People don't talk about it very much anymore, but it's about that idea about the thing that got you through your childhood reappears in later life.
What about if the thing that got you through your childhood is when you put on a particular jumper, you were Peter from Germany?
Could you still get that? Have you still got the jumper?
No, I haven't got the jumper. No, I don't think it would fit actually. But
no, but I just wonder whether you had it as like a security blanket.
Is that like the same as having an imaginary friend that you pretend to be somebody else?
I think it's like, and again, this comparison was made in the interview, that when you said, who are the boys, the band, whatever they refer to, and the answer was, well, it's music in general. The fact that we joke on this show quite a lot about the fact that I love the Rubettes, and I will always love the Rubettes, regardless of everything I know about the construction and all the rest of it. Sugar Baby Love will always be my security blanket because of what it meant to me when I was 10. And I think that's a similar thing. I could listen to Sugar Baby Love now and it will get me through things in the same way that it did when I was 10 years old.
Well, Peter from Germany is not very useful. I can't get through a crisis.
Peter from Germany carried a handbag and had a jumper.
No, a handbag. The handbag full of marbles was something else altogether. That
wasn't Peter from Germany?
No, Peter from Germany wouldn't have a handbag with marbles. He wouldn't be a part of that kind of thing. He's Peter from Germany. That's all he needs.
Is that nonsense?
He's got a special jumper. The handbag with marbles was something else altogether.
I'm sorry for confusing your weird alternative personalities.
Right. And I spilt them in Alloa, I believe, or at the Scottish Crown Jewels. Anyway, it doesn't matter.
That sounds like a Smith song, doesn't it? I spilt my marbles in Alloa.
Anyway, feel free to interpret away.
So ever since.
Correspondence at kermode.com. What else is out?
Nimona, which is in cinemas now in a limited release and then on Netflix from June 30th. Based on, and I hadn't heard the phrase, but everyone else, but science fantasy graphic novel by American cartoonist Andy Stevenson. The source focuses on Nimona, who's a shapeshifter, who's an anarchic force for change, who teams up with Ballister Blackheart to overthrow the dominating institute. The source went from being apparently a high school hobby to a web project to a senior thesis to an officially published work in 2015, which was then optioned by Blue Sky. And then the option fell down when Disney bought Fox and Blue Sky ceased. Blue Sky? Empty Sky. And the whole thing collapsed and then was picked up again by Annapurna and now on Netflix, but in cinemas. Directed by Nick Bruno and Tony Kwan, who made Spies in Disguise. Riz Ahmed is the voice of Ballister Boldheart, formerly Ballister Blackheart, now Ballister Boldheart, which tells you a little bit about the way the character has changed. Aspires to be a knight. This is a kind of retro future setting, so knights in armor, but science fiction fantasy, as if a knights in armor society has grown up into, science fiction. On the occasion of his knighthood, because he is lowborn, his sword mysteriously turns into a futuristic weapon and does something awful with terrible consequences. He is forced into hiding, having lost and replaced an arm, and meets Nimona, voiced by Chloë Grace Moretz, who presents as a punky young girl, but is in fact a shape-shifting, can-be-anything. Here's a clip.
Who are you?
The name's Nimona.
And how did you...
Whoa, yeah! Sick arm! Did it bleed a lot? What? Did they let you keep the old one?
No, let go! What's wrong with you?
Can I have it?
What? Put that down. That is not for little girls.
Little girls? Okay. How old do you think I am?
I don't know, 10? All right, help me out. More or less than 10?
Not a lot of kids in your life, huh?
You know what? No, and I'd like it to stay that way. You have to go.
But I'm here about the job.
Job? What job?
Oh, it's all here in my application.
This is just a bunch of drawings. Very disturbing drawings. Oh, look, it's me. On a rhinoceros, skewering several guards like a human kebab.
Yeah, do you like it? I thought a visual aid would really make my resume pop.
So as soon as you hear Chloë Grace Moretz's voice in that, because of the way the character, there is a touch of kick-ass about it. And weirdly enough, they also reprise Banana Splits, which of course appears in Kick-Ass in this. So the design animation, if you were just listening, you didn't see it. There's a lovely moment in that when she says, "Did it bleed a lot?" And she starts to turn her head in this mechanical way that's actually, for me, is an exit.
Is it? I see.
Yes, I think it is. I think it genuinely is.
I see.
But the animation style is interesting because it's computer graphic, but it has an old-fashioned, cell look about it. In fact, weirdly enough, I think in its design, it owes something to Cartoon Saloon, who do, who I'm in love with their work. I think their work is great. And I think there is a kind of echo of that when you see that, there's something which is old-fashioned, but also, modern at the same time. It also has a debt to anime. There is a huge section of it which is kind of a riff on the Japanese kaiju traditions of, really, really big monsters doing really, really big monster things. The thing that I liked about it is, firstly, it's fun to watch. I like the visual style. It's very eye-catching. Secondly, I think those two central voice performances are very winning. Thirdly, this is the kind of movie. Had Disney made this movie, as opposed to it passing through and then going to another company, had Disney made this, is exactly the kind of movie that Ron DeSantis would have called woke. Ron DeSantis is trying to shut down woke because, one of the central relationships is gay. The heroine is a young girl who can change her identity and her shape. The voice artists include RuPaul, and the source material author identifies as non-binary, transmasculine, and bigender. So this is literally the kind of thing that Ron DeSantis would have gone out and said,
I'm going to go and see this film on purpose.
Although Disney didn't end up making it. But, it's the kind of thing that is really deeply upsetting for those right-wing Christian wingnuts who believe that everybody should have the right to carry guns and therefore be potentially able to kill lots of people, but not to choose who they are and who they love.
And I think you should put Christian in inverted commas.
Exactly. I mean, the best thing about it is it's got all those things, but that's not the reason for liking it. The reason for everyone else to like it's a lively adventure, it's a story which is well told. The visuals are very eye-catching. It's got a very good score by Christoph Beck. I really enjoyed it, and I like the fact that it's got all those, it's very much about defining yourself and being who you want to be, and it's very, very open-minded. But the best thing about it is that that's not the best thing about it. The best thing about it is it's an exciting adventure with knights and science fiction and shape-shifting and, these two characters thrown together because of this mad situation, and I enjoyed it very much.
It's the ads in a minute, Mark, but first, it's time once again to step into our much-loved laughter lift.
Oh, dear.
Very good. Hey, Mark.
Hey, Simon.
The good lady ceramicist her indoors is threatening to leave me again.
This is a regular...
Yeah, because of my obsession with wearing a new band T-shirt every hour. Okay. Wait, I said I can change.
What?
I have to wear a new T-shirt.
I see. Wait,
hour.
I can change. Fine.
I can change. So
I was thinking, was it a song I can change? No, but it's just because you can change the T-shirt every hour.
That's...
Okay.
That's what I was aiming for.
Doesn't quite work, that, does it?
I think it does if you pay attention. Just thinking ahead to the summer holidays, Mark, I'm certainly beach body ready.
Okay.
In the sense that if you're going to the beach and you've got a body, you're beach body ready. I don't have fond memories of every summer holiday. In the 70s, inappropriate Uncle Selwyn, to give him his full name, once told me in my insecure teenage years that if I put a baked potato in my swimming trunks, I'd attract more girls. He forgot to tell me to put the potato in the front, though. So, I don't know.
It's a lower quality of gag this week, isn't it?
I'm building up for a big finish.
Just building up for a big potato.
Yes.
Is that a hot potato in your swimming trunks?
No, it's a chip. I've made life a little easier. In these days of sunshine and vino, Mark. I've trained my dog to go and fetch me a bottle of wine. He's a Bordeaux collie.
Okay, that's good. Redeemed. Oh, there's more.
Which reminds me of the time when our dog Shark got lost on the beach. We were not popular. Anyway, what's still to come?
Because you were shouting shark.
Well, it kind of didn't need saying.
Yeah. Because it's funny, isn't it? Because jokes never sound funny in court.
Pardon?
I told you, it was the libel thing. I said something in a book. The editor said, you have to take that out. I said, it's a joke. He said, funny thing about jokes.
Oh, right.
They never sound funny in court.
I'd forgotten that.
Asteroid City.
All right. We'll be back after this, unless you're a Vanguardista, in which case I love how you don't care how you come across. We'll be back after this. Now, in response, so back on the emails here, correspondence@kermode.com, in response to Richard's tale of watching Terminator 2 at the age of 6, this is an email, by the way, from Benjamin Russell, B-A-N-G MLIS, second place grade 4 spelling competition, Harold Martin School, and he's in Concord, New Hampshire.
Okay.
Yes, Terminator 2 at the age of 6. I wanted to mention the time when we were both about 15 and my friend Amy came to tell me about the movie her dad had left for her to watch when he went away for the weekend.
Right.
I rented these films for you, he said on his way out of the door. I loved them when I was your age. Amy said she wasn't quite sure if she could look at her father the same way after she popped one of the tapes into the VCR. Something she'd never heard of was called Caligula.
What?
It was well known in school that I had parents who wouldn't let me watch R-rated films until I turned 17. At a middle school party only a couple of years before, I'd been mockingly pushed out of the room during a viewing of Die Hard in order to, in quotes, protect me from the scene where the terrorists find a couple having a very good time in one of the offices. So I was a little surprised Amy wanted to commiserate with me about this experience. I still wonder if she was telling everyone or if she figured I would nerdily know enough about the historical figure that I would be suitably appalled without having had to experience the sweaty footage firsthand. Anyway, the latter was certainly correct enough that it meant I was avoiding eye contact when we both subsequently reported to the science class her father taught at our school. You don't want to watch that Caligula at primary school age.
Was he getting the title mixed up with something else?
Is there a child-friendly version of Caligula? I mean, I suspect. Probably.
I've seen many versions of Caligula. I don't think any of them could be described as child-friendly.
Yes. Anyway, Argle Bargle Wargle Dragon, which was my favourite location message I once saw on the sadly departed iWitter at Benjamin Russell.
Do you remember where that came from? It was Jeff Bridges going on. He even said a thing on Argle Wargle Fargle Dragon. And what he actually said was, you should have stayed a dragon, but you couldn't understand the...
Dear Peter from Germany and Henry from Manchester, this is... who is it, in fact? Simon in Amsterdam.
Oh, Nick Nolte. Sorry, who did I say? Jeff Bridges. Nick Nolte. Thank you for...
They are kind of the same.
Yeah, it's the same impression, so...
So Peter, Simon in Amsterdam, long-time listener, first-time emailer, but you did read a DVD of the week tweet of mine years ago. On recent travels with work, having exhausted all potential conversation topics, including what's your favourite vegetable, my colleagues and I came up with a game I thought you'd appreciate. The rules are simple. One person describes a situation Tom Hanks finds himself. Everyone else tries to be the first one to guess the film. Okay?
Okay.
So, Tom Hanks in a plane.
Plane. Is it called Plane? It's the one when he lands the
Sully.
Sully. Thank you.
Tom Hanks in a boat.
Castaway. No. Go Captain Phillips.
Yep. Tom Hanks is a child.
Big.
So it provided a surprising amount of fun, mostly taken up by everyone trying to think of more Hanks movies from which clues could be made. We're open to suggestions for alternative actors to extend the life of this game.
Can I just say, no, it was Jeff Bridges in Seventh Son, not Nick Nolte. Just my impression sounded the same.
Tickety-tongle for it, up with Jason, Sanjeev and Toby, down with messy head populist liars who are thankfully seemingly getting their comeuppance. Well, other suggestions, Tom Hanks with a fish.
Hang on. Tom Hanks with
fish/woman.
Splash.
Tom Hanks on a stag do.
Bachelor party.
Tom Hanks is in a falling down house.
The money pit.
Tom Hanks is a detective. Old-fashioned.
Turner and Hooch?
Well, I've got Dragnet here.
Oh, Dragnet, of course.
And Tom Hanks in the suburbs.
Burbs.
Yes, there you go.
Yeah.
So it may well be this is a short-lived game, but anyway, and there may well be other actors.
Yeah, but I mean, with Tom Hanks, it's an easier thing. If it was, Jeff Bridges in a diner, it would be harder.
Yeah. Anyway, Asteroid City has already been mentioned a couple of times. I saw a lovely still from it and thought, there you go, we're in Wes Anderson.
That's what all his friends call him, Matt.
If I'm not going out for a stream, I'm going out for a Wes Anderson. Anyway, tell us about Asteroid City.
Okay, so...
Okay, you don't like it. I can tell already that you don't like it.
How can you tell that?
Because you went, okay, so you've already got...
All right, so opens in boxy black and white, 4x3. Bryan Cranston as the host... Okay. who is introducing you behind the scenes of a play, which we're going to see from start to finish, the creation of it. Created by an author, Conrad Earp, played by Ed Norton, and it is to be set in the American Southwest of the mid-50s, and it's going to address infinity and I don't know what else. Cut to widescreen, full colour, massively colour saturated titular town, Asteroid City, in the mid-50s, where the drama is that the group of people are converging there for a conference of young stargazers and space cadets. At the very beginning, we see the town, and the town basically consists of a motel, a cafe, a half-finished bridge, an observatory, and a crater created by the asteroid. I think it says Asteroid City population 80-something, so it's very, very small. And through the main street, or indeed the only street of the town, at regular intervals, race cops and robbers like they're on a Skeletrix track. So everything is very, very Wes Anderson, very artificial, very much like a set. They turn up there. The cast is incredibly starry. I mean, the likes of, Tilda Swinton, Jeffrey Wright, Jason Schwartzman, Scarlett Johansson. So Jason Schwartzman plays this central character who is a war photographer who arrives with his family. He also has in a Tupperware box the ashes of his wife. He hasn't yet told his children that their mother is dead. And when they're in a diner, his eye is caught by Scarlett Johansson and her daughter. Here's a clip.
You took a picture of me.
Uh-huh.
Why?
I'm a photographer.
You didn't ask permission.
I never ask permission.
Why not?
Because I work in trenches, battlefields, and combat zones.
Really?
Uh-huh.
You mean you're a war photographer?
Mostly. Sometimes I cover sporting events. My name is Augie Steenbeck.
Mm-hmm. What are you going to do with it? That picture?
Well, if it's any good, I guess I'll try to sell it to a magazine, now that you mention it. Midge Campbell, eating a waffle.
He's got a pipe in his mouth, which
He
is
has.
why he's speaking in a slightly...
Because he's in a Wes Anderson film. And everyone will talk like that all the way through the film. So it's all very, very arch, none of it, realistic. Although, oddly enough, during all the stuff with the television wraparound, which they keep going back to, in which the people that we see there being those characters are actors playing those characters, talking about the development of the characters in a way that's meant to kind of evoke the heyday of the actor studio. So there's a connection between Scarlett Johansson's character and Marilyn Monroe, for example. She keeps talking about the fact that she has abusive relationships, but in fact she has a great talent for comedy. Blah, 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 blah. Co-written by Wes Anderson and Roman Coppola, absolutely littered with very, very Anderson-esque, people saying gadzooks and that sort of stuff. Oh. And very, very starry cast, completely full of celebrity cameos. Willem Dafoe, Jeff Goldblum, Margot Robbie, Jarvis Cocker. Everywhere you look. So the whole thing has the air of...
Jarvis Cocker was a standout name there. He's not as big a star, but...
He's done stuff with Anderson before. So it's just, but there's everywhere you look, there are people. We get that. Here is the thing. How one feels about Wes Anderson movies is often slightly conflicted. Everything, the way in which Wes Anderson does, I always said this thing about the Wes Anderson outtakes reel, the gags, the bloopers reel, would be somebody sitting in a perfectly formed corduroy suit at a desk and a pencil is slightly on the shonk and everyone falls about laughing because, everything about his thing is it's created like a miniature world. And sometimes this works really well. I thought Grand Budapest Hotel was really, really funny. I'm a big fan of Royal Tenenbaums. Every now and then he does stuff that, that really feels like it has heart and soul. Also, at the other end of it, you have films like French Dispatch, which was just unbelievably tooth-grating. This isn't as tooth-grating as French Dispatch, but I found it sorely patience-testing. And the reason I did was it felt like it's something that was so full of its own construction and its own confection and its own color coding that you saw then in terms of the the oversaturated colors, that what it completely forgot to do was to actually have any heart. Now, weirdly enough, then what happens is that the father-in-law, played by Tom Hanks, has to arrive, because there is this whole... I mean, Tom Hanks, who is not the kind of person who does stuff that doesn't have heart. I mean, Tom Hanks is literally, I'd like my movie to have heart. Let's get Tom Hanks, because that's what he brings. Even Tom Hanks can't raise this above the level of the whole film conducted like somebody, have you ever heard Mink DeVille?
Spanish Stroll.
Spanish Stroll. Finger on your eyebrow, left hand on your hip. And I can imagine the whole film being directed with somebody with their finger on their eyebrow and their left hand on their arch. And it's that thing about the gap between quirky and irksome is really, really thin. And this, for me, tipped right over into irksome. And then there's a moment in it in which they play... do you remember Mars Attacks?
Yes.
You enjoyed Mars Attacks, right?
Yes, I haven't seen it since, but there you go.
Mars Attacks is really good fun. I mean, it's completely all over the place and it's a mess, but in it, that Slim Whitman Indian love call, the yodeling, is used to make the aliens' heads explode. In this film, it turns up in the background, and it immediately made me think, I really enjoyed Mars Attacks. It's a total mess, and it's got that weird bit about Tom Jones at the end singing "It's Not Unusual" while the birds come and land on this thing, and I don't know what was good, but I just want this film to exhale. That film, Waiting to Exhale, I found myself sitting through Asteroid City thinking, sometimes, oh, that's intriguing. Sometimes, oh, this boxes within boxes. They're actors playing actors and discussing them. And sometimes just like, okay, enough of the sixth form. Just enough. I think it's the most Wes Anderson movie Wes Anderson has ever made. And I think it's made me realize that actually what I love about Wes Anderson movies is when they step outside of the Wes Anderson box. But this has stepped right into it. And like that celebrity I told you about Glastonbury locking themselves into the Winnebago, this has locked itself into the Winnebago of Wes Anderson films, and it ain't coming out even if you're desperate for a poo.
Put that on the poster, see what happens. Correspondence at kermodeandmayo.com once you've seen it, and tell us what you think. As far as What's On is concerned this week, this is where you send us information about your cinema-related activity. Yeah. By the way, this week I was doing a book festival in Southwold, and the book festival was called Slaughter in Southwold because it was like a crime festival, and it was great. And hello to everyone who came along to that. Anyway, and at the end, this woman said that her son-in-law was making a movie.
Right.
And it was his first ever movie. And I said, okay, well, in which case, get him to send us a voice note. So
he did?
No, I don't know.
Oh, fine.
No, he hasn't yet. But okay. I'm just saying that's the kind of thing that we need.
Yeah, exactly.
Just tell us your stuff and send it to correspondence at kermodeandmayo.com. For example, like this from Malika, who's from Cinecittà.
Hello, Simon and Mark. This is Malaika from Cinecittà Italian Docs, a season of powerful documentaries screening in London's Bertha Dock House on the 24th and 25th of June. The films portray everything from Italian nurses struggling to find employment to a celebration of the famous Italian protest song Bella Ciao, all presented as UK premieres and with the filmmakers joining for Q&As. Don't miss it.
From the 11th to the 28th of August, the 31st Chichester International Film Festival will bring the magic of film to the picturesque city of Chichester. Launching with 3 open-air screenings at the iconic Priory Park, the festival will offer a diverse range of strands, including the captivating Cate Blanchett, luminary Jean-Luc Godard, and many others. There'll be silent films accompanied by live music performances. Plus, you can join renowned actors and industry experts for engaging talks and exclusive Q&As. Celebrate this beautiful art that we all cherish. Visit chichesterfilmfestival.co.uk.
That was Malika from Cinecittà and Walter Francisco. What a name.
Yes.
Cinema director and programmer about the Chichester International Film Festival. So send us your 20-second voice note, something which Walter, I think, exceeded considerably. But anyway, keep it excited.
I tell you my 2 Cinecittà things.
And send your voice note about your event anywhere in the world to correspondence at kermodeandmayo.com. What is that?
Well, 2 of them. Firstly,
We're out of time, by the way.
I'll be quick. Caligula was filmed at Cinecittà, and secondly, that's in the studios as opposed to the thing. And secondly, one of Ken Russell's favourite stories, he came out of Cinecittà, a Rolls Royce pulled up, the door threw open, and a bloke said, Mr. Russell, here in Italy, they call me the Italian Ken Russell. It was Fellini.
And that's the end of Take One. This has been a Sony Music Entertainment production. The team was Lily Hambley, Ryan O'Meara, Sancho Panza, Gully Tikel, Michael Dale, Beth Perkin, and Simon Poole, as ever, the redactor. Mark, what is your film of the week?
Nimona.
Thank you ever so much for listening and downloading this particular podcast. There will be another, well, in fact, there already is Take Two, which has landed alongside this particular.
Simultaneously.
Yes, that's right. It's already there for you to enjoy.
We haven't recorded it yet, but we're sure it's fabulous.
It's going to be great. And Take Three will be with you on Wednesday. Thanks very much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed watching it as much as we enjoyed making it. While you're here, check out all the other videos because they're cool too, aren't they?
Yeah, and if you want to keep up to date with everything Kermode and Mayo's Take, then check out our social channels.
I mean, why wouldn't you?
I mean, I would. I have done.
Excellent.